Bbungun victorious, the Doom Guard, the most timely draw.
My next opponent will be che0nsu. I don't know much about him. I know his style is a little bit greedy. He runs a lot of greedy decks.
bbungun 선수 상대가 네이만 선수였는데 요구사로운 대박 터져가지고 되게 멘탈 터진 모습이 인상적이었어요.
I will definitely target his Dragon Warrior. I think the Dragon Warrior is pretty weak, and I practiced against his lab, and I did really good results against the Dragon Warrior.
그 돌진 양꾼에 대해서 제가 잘 몰라가지고 상대하는 법을 잘 몰라서 좀 힘들 것 같긴 해요. 근데 전체적으로 제가 더 유리한 것 같아요. 용템 전사에서 또 특히 유리한 것 같아요.
If I play my game flawlessly, I will win.
bbungun 선수 아직 잘 모르는데 아직 더 많이 안 알아도 될 것 같아요. 왜냐면 제가 짓밟고 갈 거니까.
Good luck. Let's have a fair match.
One dances with dragons, one dresses like the Riddler. Buckle up, people. It's time for Frodan and Brian Kibler. How you doing, Brian?
I'm doing well. You know, a little more subdued on this side of the desk, but you know, I'm ready for an exciting match.
I'm just trying to push the limits, just like the way the players are pushing their own. We have a great match coming up for you for our second of the day. It's che0nsu from Korea up against Bbungun. A lot of narratives going into this, as you can take a look at the initial ban. Shaman on both sides, not really a big surprise. You heard their opening words. What are some of the big stories that you're bringing into this match, Brian?
Well, for one, che0nsu came in kind of overshadowed by his fellow Korean countryman, handsome guy Untitled, saying he was a big fan of Untitled, really excited to be here with him, and now he is the remaining Korean player in the upper bracket, and Bbungun, sort of the man behind the man for so long over the course of the year. So many players giving credit to him for their success thanks to being a practice partner. Now he's looking to push through to that main stage of BlizzCon.
Yeah, and there's also the other stories around the tournament as well. North America streak has been broken, but it's more important for che0nsu to represent Korea. Even though you see that he's playing for himself and he is going to open on this Dragon Warrior that apparently Bbungun's targeting, you know, che0nsu is the only Korean player to advance to the winner's match, so he could guarantee another Korean to go in the top 8.
Yeah, and this is, interestingly, a controversial deck between the two players. Bbungun felt like the Dragon Warrior would be one he'd be able to get victories over with fairly easily, while che0nsu, we saw say that he felt like that was one of the strengths of his lineup in this particular match. So it'll be interesting to see which of the players has the correct evaluation of how things are going to go.
That's right. So we're going to start things off with very fast onboarding right here. We have the 2 Flame Imps in the opening hand for Bbungun. Very aggressive. Now, Bbungun's Warlock list does differ a little bit from Omega Zero, who he does pay homage to whenever he says that he gets his Warlock inspiration from. Bbungun said that he pretty much just copied Omega Zero's deck, except he did make a couple of changes. For example, he has 1 Defender of Argus. And that's a really interesting choice to cut. And I really wonder if that's going to work out long term, because I always felt like that was one of the most powerful cards in the deck.
It's interesting. He even has the 1 young priestess in the deck that is pretty iconic of Omega Zero's list. But the Singleton Defender of Argus, you know, that's one of the cards that can really turn games around. So perhaps he's expecting to play against more decks that are looking to combat his board and not leave him with a board presence. And in this instance, che0nsu with excellent removal to start things off with Fiery War Axe and a second one to back it up, and then a Ravaging Ghoul. This is, while Bbungun may have felt that he was going to target this deck, this is an excellent draw for che0nsu in this matchup.
That's an excellent draw for any Warrior deck. The fact, I mean, pretty much universally across every Warrior deck, you start off by playing 2 Fiery War Axes, 2 Ravaging Ghouls. You can build around the other cards too. Sometimes you don't run all the Executes and Shield Slams or Blood to Ichors, and sometimes you change the tools between the minions and finishers, but Fiery War Axe is so universal to how Warrior functions, and having 2 of them ensures that you'll be able to survive the early game and make sure they don't snowball, because without Fiery War Axe, Flame Imps can do 9, maybe even 12 damage before you remove it.
And War Axe is particularly important in this matchup because the Zoo deck does look to put a lot of pressure on early, and being able to remove not only multiple minions with a single card, but without expending mana on additional turns. It gives you that tempo advantage that's so important to not get run over in a matchup that's very much about who can get and stay on the board.
And because of the second Fire War Axe, Bbungun is forced to play slower. He chooses to life tap and not play into the weapon. Do you think this is the right adjustment from him?
I think this is definitely a heads-up understanding of how this game's going to have to play out for him from now on. If he just played Juggler, that would just die. So that doesn't really accomplish much. And we actually see that he drew into a second copy of Soulfire with his Malchezaar's Imp in hand. So he has the possibility to generate some additional resources. We see che0nsu using that War Axe just in a 1-1, doesn't want an abusive Sergeant or something to get that some additional value. Oh, look at this hand for Bbungun. He has Imp, double Soulfire, and Golem. The only sort of disaster scenario if he decides to fire off those Soulfires is that one discards the other.
Which, I don't know how much Hearthstone everyone's played, but it does feel universally acclaimed that Soulfire does tend to discard the other Soulfire, but Bbungun has an opportunity to also summon that Silverware Golem. This is one of the comeback mechanisms built into the deck.
Oh, and there it is. So not only does Bbungun get the Silverware Golem into play, but because of the Imp, gets to draw another card as well. So suddenly goes from no board to 3 minions and helps refill his hand.
Wow, I'd like to report a bug. In
that was
the game, I'm pretty sure it's supposed to discard the other Soulfire.
No, wait, hold on. What happened here?
It was a priority system. Must have been a new feature in che0nsu. But, you know, all joking aside, that's an amazing swing, and that is one of the ways you can come back with this deck. Zoo, for a while, struggled to get back on board super convincingly. They used to use Forbidden Ritual to do that, but with so many tools now being available to classes, particularly Maelstrom Portal, really shutting off the ability to swarm against the Shaman class, you know, Zoos have stopped running that, so they just focus more on this discard.
Yeah, we have seen the Zoo decks both drop a lot in popularity thanks to Maelstrom Portal, Spirit Claws, the rise of that style of Shaman deck, but also just have a lot less success overall. This build, though, with the double Soulfire, the Silverware Golems and Doomguard and such, does have the ability to just have these huge board swings that can make it difficult, even if decks have things like Maelstrom Portal to come back.
Bbungun kind of weighing the options at this point. You know, how does he sequence things? If he starts things off with Dark Peddler, there's a chance he discards that 1 mana play, or 1 mana card, excuse me.
Ooh, Shifter's Heiress is always an interesting option from Dark Peddler because you have the chance of getting something a lot more valuable than a 1-drop with your Dark Peddler when the Shifter does transform. So, Deckhand, no opportunity to give a charge. Voodoo Doctor, a little bit of health.
Yeah, the awkward thing, too, is that he has to consider what he's going to be doing this turn if he wants to play Crazed Alchemist and just toss whatever 1 mana play. If he can find a better 1 mana play than the Crazed Alchemist, he might consider that. But I can just see him tossing it away here. Oh, instead he chooses to use Voodoo Doctor for heal and build up the board presence. That's a pretty creative play.
Yeah, so he flips che0nsu's Kor'kron, and now it can only trade into one of his smaller minions. It can't trade into the Silver Golem anymore, so it does leave him with a more resilient, larger board presence than he had before.
Yeah, I was expecting the Soulfire play that turn, so that way he can seize the board, but Bbungun is trying to be very resourceful, and by keeping Soulfire in hand, he's most likely going to be able to play it next turn and then life tap, assuming he doesn't draw Doomguard.
Yeah, and he's seen both War Axes. He's seen a Ravaging Ghoul, so his ability to kind of go wide on the board, and if che0nsu doesn't find a Twilight Guardian, he can just kind of keep control over this board by attacking both the face and the minions pretty effectively.
And che0nsu, you know, stuck in awkward positions, but he did pick up Fierce Monkey, which was pretty huge, because he didn't really have any other minion play. So if he was picking up heavier cards, Curator, Grom, for example, he'd be passing, and that's a scary point, because the Zoo gets on board super fast.
And now che0nsu's trying to decide, do I want to Blood to Ichor and just use it as a removal, or do I want to get a 2-2 out of it and deal damage to one of the other 2-2s? Here he decides that he wants to get rid of the minion. This ensures that he has some sort of board presence, but Bbungun has that Soulfire waiting. Oh, another discard draw for BB, so he's not able to get the value out of Soulfire on an empty hand. He's going to go ahead and life tap first, hoping that he is able to discard the Void Caller thing and the free Librarian. He did not, but he is able to set up a Voidwalker to protect his board against this 2-2.
Yeah, but you know, one of the things that you're concerned about as the game progresses is usage of your mana, and that's why when life tap is great, but it still usually floats a few mana crystals, and if you're able to draw yet another card with Darkshire Librarian, not to mention the fact that it's more powerful minion, it definitely ends up being better for Bbungun long term.
But long-term cards, that Curator draw from che0nsu, if he's able to stabilize at least a little bit, that will draw him 3 cards. He's only seen one of his monkeys, and he'll be able to just really out-resource Bbungun in the longer game.
Okay, well, Bbungun picks up Imp Gang Boss, pretty sturdy minion generally speaking. And Bbungun has the opportunity to also play very board-centric, or he can be super aggressive. He did use both of his Soul Fires, and he only has the Doom Guards remaining as the charge damage. So he has to weigh the opportunities of, can he trade here and realistically play the long-term game, because he can draw 2 cards per turn, while his opponent can only draw 1, really. And Dragon Warrior notoriously struggles with card draw.
Which is one of the reasons that Curator is so important, because che0nsu, as we see, kind of low on resources, but being able to pick up extra cards attached to a big taunt body is especially huge in a matchup like this.
Yeah, I think if you go wide, it's really hard for your opponent to clean up. And pretty much if you start rushing your opponent down, the only way that they can climb back is if they have one big taunt. Yeah, so, I mean, I really like being aggressive here.
Oh, wow. He is going to go ahead and trade, though. Yeah, this does leave Bbungun in a situation where he is in real trouble against this Curator.
Okay, well, I mean, that's one of the things that he's hoping for. When he's trading, he's hoping that he can out-resource his opponent.
And just look at this.
But he's not going to out-resource him anytime soon.
Fierce Monkey, Azure Drake, Sir Finley Murgleton, all coming off that Curator. And the Curator itself is just a problem. Yeah. He's a 4/6 body. Even with that Direwolf Alpha, Bbungun has no good attacks here. And this game just absolutely turned around. che0nsu is in a huge advantage situation right now.
Yeah, I mean, we have the benefit of being able to spot the hands and know that che0nsu from that position was, if Bbungun was exhausting all of his board, he'd be in a good position. And now look at what he's able to do. He's able to remove the board, set up taunts, or even start pushing against his opponent. It's not like Bbungun has the most amount of health.
Yeah, and che0nsu has, Draconid Crusher, Ragnaros the Fire Lord, these huge hard-hitting cards that will not give Bbungun very much time at all.
Yeah, he has a couple of options on how he wants to go. Azure Drake just allowing him to dig a little bit deeper and spread out more across the board. Sir Finley gives him the ability to, actually the heal and the weapon isn't so bad.
Pretty good here, yeah. It's basically just strictly better than Armor Up once you're below 30 health. And the fact that it can affect your minions, obviously hugely important in a matchup that is very much about board presence. And killing that Direwolf Alpha means that Bbungun is going to really struggle to clear off any of this board.
Okay, well, Direwolf Alpha helps.
There's another one.
It helps, but he needs the Doom Guard or something commanding to fill out the board and the curve. But
every time he draws that Young Priestess, it just does not look very impressive, and it is not going to be what he needs to come back in this game right here.
No, certainly not. I mean, che0nsu can pretty much start putting bomb after bomb. He has the Draconoid Crusher's Battle Cry active now, and that sets up the 9/9. Zoo can't kill that.
Yeah, this game is all but over with the cleanup, really. che0nsu can kill almost Bbungun's entire board, play a 9/9 and a Fierce Monkey. This is just totally out of reach for the American player.
Yeah, and this is pretty devastating for Bbungun. If you just heard the interviews a few minutes ago, he was saying, this is the weak point of che0nsu's lineup. I can beat this Dragon Warrior down and really corner it. Except, the Dragon Warrior looks like it's in position to take the first game of the series and just never be eligible for playing it anymore.
Well, that Doom Guard is looks to be a breath of hope, but there's an execute for che0nsu here. He's going to be able to attack and clear off one of these minions and then just play Ragnaros and either clear Gungun's entirely board or just end the game.
Not really much of a board. It's a lowly Shadow Beast.
Yeah. Oh,
wow, that's a 1/9 Shadow Beast.
He is establishing dominance right there. I'm going to attack 9 damage into your Shadow Beast to do 8 to you.
I mean, I don't think there's any two combination of cards. I mean, Power Overwhelming is nice. And well, you can't play both those. Looks like that's going to wrap up game 1, and Bbungun was his prediction incorrect. che0nsu takes the first game with Dragon Warrior, very convincing.
Yeah, that game, really showcased the power, of course, of Fiery War Axe and the ability for the warrior to contain the early aggression from the Zoo deck and then really change gears fast enough to close the game out.
Certainly. So while that first game was very fast, we're going to get ready for game number 2 in just a minute. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
The Hearthstone World Championship is sponsored in part by
How did you end up getting so good at Hearthstone?
대회 많이 보긴 하는데 저는 그것보다는 생각하면서 집중하면서 해요. 하스스톤은 확률 같은 거 계산하고 어떤 선택을 하면 얼마나 좋은 게 따라올지 생각하고.
Do you think other players don't necessarily focus on the calculating aspect of Hearthstone as much?
차분하게 하고 싶어서 늘게 하고 모든 경우 생각하고 싶어가지고 늘게 해요. 상대가 플레이하는 거 보고 그때 가장 좋은 플레이 안 했다 싶으면 그 카드는 없다고 생각하고 그렇게 카드를 예측해요.
Do you tend to play, take more risks, or do you tend to play safe?
따로 리스크한 플레이나 안전한 플레이 그런 거는 별로 생각하지 않고 승률이 가장 높은 플레이를 해요.
Do you cross the street when the stop sign is on?
사람들이 안 보고 있으면은 하죠.
Wow, I got a lot of anime villain vibes from che0nsu. He's even got those diabolical glasses where he pushes it up and says, all according to the Keikaku.
And he'll just cross the street if no one's looking.
Yeah.
Even if the stop.
What a rebel!
A friend of mine actually played the odds of him winning by never paying for parking meters because he knew, he got a major ticket once and decided to change his mind. But
I'll tell you, man, the way digitalized tickets and everything works, you're not really going to escape the system very long. And, well, I mean, so far he's escaped the claws of the Zoo Warlock and the Dragon Warriors on the board after that lightning fast start with double Fiery War Axe, double Blood to Ichor, answering all those mini threats from the Zoo Warlock. And Bbungun definitely not happy with how that series started.
yeah, we heard in the initial interview with the two players that Bbungun felt like he would prey on that Dragon Warrior deck, and having che0nsu get a win with it in the very first game has to kind of shake him a little bit.
Yeah, certainly. And now we're going to go to the Zoo Warlock Mirror. This is a matchup that I think is constantly overlooked as being one of the trickier matchups at the highest level because there's a lot of small nuances that end up snowballing the advantages a lot. Similar to how Hunter vs. Hunter, even the smallest difference of health in terms of how your minions trade can end up being the difference between losing control of the game versus staying competitive.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a game of inches in many cases. If you even position your minion incorrectly for something like a Direwolf Alpha or Defender of Argus, that could be a really big deal. And speaking of Defender of Argus, that's one of the very important cards in this matchup.
Oh, yeah.
And as we mentioned, Bbungun is only playing a single copy, so it's possible that this could be one of those spots it could come back to haunt him.
Yeah, I don't think that Bbungun was... I don't think he was considering as many people to pick Zoo Warlock, so that's why he's not considering that matchup when he's taking it. In fact, he made several cuts, like we mentioned. Darkshire Librarian, of course, only a one of in this deck, which is another difference between him and Omega Zero, who he also claims that he got a lot of inspiration from this deck.
Well, che0nsu with hand looks pretty similar to Bbungun's from last game.
Yeah.
2 copies of Flame Imp, and Flame Imp does contest Malchezaar's Imp quite well. As well as the Voidwalker that Bbungun has in his hand.
Yeah, and there's another thing too, like the fact that che0nsu's on the coin and he has the availability of being able to rush out 3 mana plays or coin out double Flame Imp, which also had a lot of viability if he had a 2 mana play next turn, guaranteed. Look at che0nsu's deck list too. He has a Forbidden Ritual, and that card can be super swingy, especially when you have the Knife Juggler plus Forbidden Ritual to climb back onto the board. So I'm ready to say that che0nsu is the big favorite just based off the way the deck lists line up. But at the same time, if you play your cards right and gain an advantage, it might not matter what your deck or outfit is like.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think that the way the game's playing out so far, che0nsu certainly seems like the favorite as well. He's able to clear off this Imp with his Imp. The Imp Wars here, and the even bigger Imp comes down, the Imp Gang boss. And Bbungun does have some Councilmen that he can play, but not really great way to defend them. He's behind in the board. It's going to be tough.
Yeah, it's going to be tricky indeed, and doesn't have a Soul Fire to cleanly remove the Imp Gang boss. And if that thing is able to get out 2 1-1s, the advantages continue to roll in. Darkshire Councilman seems like the strongest play to set up for future turns. I don't really feel like if you want to play smaller minions to life tap would be beneficial at all. And that would just leave the alternative just being a Silver Golem. Is there value to playing Silver Golem this turn?
I don't think you can really afford to play Silver Golem this turn. The Councilman at least can potentially survive the Imp Gang boss if it even has like a buff, like say the Abusive Sergeant. We do see sitting in che0nsu's hand. Anything, any kind of buff will remove the Silver Golem, and it doesn't really provide a threat that can even threaten to kill the Imp Gang boss the following turn. I would expect him to see. I was going to say I expect Councilman next turn or this turn, but that's a Soulfire. That may be more appealing. He's going to go for the attempt to get the Silver Golem in play. He's got a 1 and 3. It is not. Councilman goes down, and now he is in a world of hurt. He just has the 1-1 in play. No real good curve next turn either. He played off curve this turn with his only things that he could, his only 1-drop that he could play next turn as well. And I think that Bbungun made that play because he felt like he is in such a disadvantaged position given the context of his hand and the context of the game that he had to put himself in a position to just get lucky. And it didn't happen. And now he's even more on the back foot.
Doomguard means that if he plays Darkshire Councilman, he can not only have a reasonably developed minion, but also Doomguard will discard the Silver Red Golem guaranteed next turn. So things could be looking up for Bbungun, as long as the next turn doesn't get too out of control.
Yeah, that's the best possible draw in his deck by far. It does give him, as you said, the ability to, importantly, immediately contest the Councilman that che0nsu has on the board.
Yeah.
And now, you know, with that draw, I think that Bbungun may actually be in a favored position here. che0nsu can play minions to buff up his Councilman to get the trade here, or not even a trade, just eat his opponent's Councilman here, and leave himself with a bit of a board. But now Gungun does have the ability to strike back with that Doomguard and Silver Golem.
Yeah, and Doomguard Silver Golem combination puts him not completely back in control, but definitely evens it catches up a little bit here, because the Doomguard has an unfortunate situation where it needs to eliminate the biggest threat, which is the Darkshire Councilman.
Yeah, given the fact that che0nsu actually was able to go so wide in the board and kill the Doomguard here, he's actually just going to take out. Okay. All right, this is going to leave Gungun with potentially, if che0nsu decides to trade into the Doomguard with something other than the Councilman, the Silver Golem that can potentially attack back and kill it.
Yep. And this also makes it so that he doesn't get an easy trade in the Possessed Villager. So he just picks up an easy, convenient trade and ends up, in hindsight, being, I think, definitely the right way to go here. As long as he didn't get punished by, double, like an Abusive Sergeant plus some other way to buff minions.
Well, I think this is going to go poorly for him ultimately, though, because che0nsu does have the ability to protect his Villager, or his Councilman, with the Villager plus Voidwalker, growing it to a 9 attack and just going to the face. That 1-3 taunt from the Voidwalker is representing a ton of damage from that Councilman next turn, because Gungun's out of cards.
Yeah, both these players are out of cards, and you're going to have to hope that he's getting Soulfire or something equivalent to it. And Possessed Villager is not going to be it. Bbungun concedes on turn 5. che0nsu is able to checkmate his opponent. Yep. Very fast games, very decisive games.
And that really, I think, showed just how quickly a game of the Zoo Mirror can snowball when one player does get an advantage. And we saw Gungun feel like he had to make that desperation play with the Soulfire to try and get that Silver Golem into play. It didn't work out. He fell too far behind. Tried to get back with the Doomguard, but it wasn't quite enough.
All right, well, Bbungun down 0-2. che0nsu looking to get revenge for his fellow Korean players. What's going to happen game number 3? We'll find out right after this.
So, tell me who you prepared with. I know you have like a group. It's like your QQ group, right?
Yes.
Talk to me a little bit about that and how that helps you in preparation.
Yeah, practice with a lot of people like WTYBO and Frozen and New Ability.
I'm pretty sure almost every player that qualified, or a lot of the players that even made it to a championship, when I asked them, hey, who was your main practice partner? Who did you practice with? Who helped you the most? A lot of them would say Bbungun. How does that make you feel as a player who watching all these players that you helped
Yeah,
make it that
people
far?
are just too generous. I just help a little bit, I think.
How many people do you think have a lot of Hearthstone packs riding on your victory?
I do know that some Chinese fans have picked me, but I don't really want to know it because that's a ton of pressure.
So if you had to say a message to your fans right now, you would say, don't show me your support.
Like that, it's pretty good.
Pressure is on. Bbungun feeling the bag of bricks on his shoulders right now as he's down 0-2. You can just tell by his body language that it just continues to get more frazzled as the series progresses.
Yeah, he is not looking particularly confident now. And we just heard during that interview, he was talking about he didn't want the pressure of people's packs riding. He didn't want to know about it, and he's clearly feeling the pressure right now as he is in a hole against che0nsu.
Yeah, and che0nsu looking pretty good so far. You know, we comment on his solid plays, and you can even just tell by the player piece we also do that he just plays the highest percentages, keeps calm, he plays slow deliberately, very methodical. And that reminds me actually very much of last year's champion, Osaka. And I have to say that above everything else, one thing that's been impressing me is just the level up that the Asian region's been able to represent as a whole, not just Asia Pacific, but also China. And I was talking about with some of the commentators, I really think this is the year that they continue to show us how much they've grown.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen excellent play from both of those regions. And che0nsu, as we mentioned before, he was kind of the overlooked member of the Korean contingent here, but he is definitely impressing in his performance so far.
All right, Hunter versus the Mage. Bbungun going to pivot off his Zoo Warlock, put that on the bench while he opens up with quite the hand. Look at that. Mana Worm, coin, plus early game spells, and even a little bit of draw with that Loot Hoarder. And of course, che0nsu, he is playing his variant of the slower Secret Hunter. Doesn't have quite as much teched out death rattles compared to Bbungun, who has cards like Sylvanas in his Hunter, very unusual. che0nsu, on the other hand, still has some of that slowness, the Ragnaros you see in the hand, the Savannah High mains.
I think Mage and Hunter may have been a couple of the best performing decks so far in this tournament. Mage has done exceptionally well.
Yes.
But it'll be interesting to see which of them comes out on top in this particular match. Bbungun, though, as we mentioned, an excellent opening hand.
Yeah, I mean, Mana Worm is pretty much the only thing that you want really early on in the Temple Mage list. A lot of times they experimented with Arcane Anomaly, which was a 1 mana 2/1 that from che0nsu got a single point of health every time you cast a spell. That card didn't really ultimately make the cut because it just felt like it made the Temple Mage a little bit too shallow on your actual ways to swing the board compared to the way Mana Worm could just win you the game. So it was very interesting how they kind of play with those lists, and we landed back on just having Mana Worm.
Yeah, a lot of the tempo mage decks, I mean, they've been called tempo mage for a long time, but they're really kind of aggressive controlling, aggro control style of decks. They're able to put a lot of pressure on the opponent, but they don't rely on that early pressure to win the game. They can draw extra cards with Arcane Intellect, with Acolyte of Pain, and they can have a powerful long game plan with endgame cards like Fireland's Portal, which can either be a value card or just game-ending burn.
Okay, so a little bit of pacing here from Bbungun instead of rushing out with just the Mana Worm. Taking a second to take a deep breath, evaluate what his hand can do, think about the following turns. che0nsu has a couple of options here of how he wants to address it. A lot of people do want to remove the Mana Worm very quickly. Things like Crowned Grandmother don't exactly develop anything significant on the board usually, against Tempo Mage especially, because it gets punished so easily.
Well, one card that is really powerful against Tempo Mage is that cat trick that che0nsu just drew. Most of the early plays from Tempo Mage will often involve casting spells, and if che0nsu imagines that there's going to be, say, a 2-drop coming down, Sorcerer's Apprentice or Cult Sorcerer, playing Cat Trick now sets him up to play the bow the following turn, eliminate one of the minions, and then get a extra charge from the bow in addition to a 4/2 Panther whenever Bbungun does decide to cast a spell. In a deck full of as many spells as Tempo Mage, it's tough not to.
All right, well, testing for Snipe sees that it is not. That is a possibility from che0nsu. Of course, Freezing Trap also eliminated as well, so Bbungun pretty much has this narrowed down to Cat Trick. Or, yeah, I believe that is the only possibility here.
Yeah, he knows it's not a freezing trap. He attacked into it. He knows it's not a snipe. Played a minion, so definitely a cat trick.
And that might influence on how he just holds on to the coin for a while. And you do see a lot of hunters do this. They know that their opponent always wants to leverage the coin because that is pretty much the way you can climb back as the player going second. So if you get it out before they use the coin, that's oftentimes where you can really abuse it. And now because Bbungun was not able to trigger that trap successfully and play around it, che0nsu set up the Eagle Horn bow, so he also gained some damage when inevitably he does trigger it.
Yeah, that Flamewaker, though, is an excellent draw for Bbungun. Crucially, hunters are not terribly good at doing one extra damage. They need something like Unleash the Hounds, and almost specifically Unleash the Hounds in order to do that incremental damage. So the 4 health on Flamewaker allows it to survive against the Eagle Horn bow. And in some matchups, you will end up holding on a lot of spells, holding on your Flamewaker, go for a single explosive turn. Against Hunter, it's not quite the way that you tend to do it. You usually need to play a bit more aggressively because they can just finish you off.
What to do?
Yeah, going into this turn, Bbungun has to consider of what his opponent wants to do on turn 4. Turn 4 is pretty much just Barnes as the only initiative. Or actually, Barnes and Infested Wolf as the only thing that can give initiative. And if so, how does he counter that? If you play Sorcerer's Apprentice, he forces his opponent to not be able to develop a minion on 4 mana, and then he has to either quick shot that, use kill command, or use his own weapon. And all those things end up hindering Hunter's development, which gives him more time to inevitably snowball lead. And then, of course, the bonus of it is if he doesn't kill the Sorcerer's Apprentice, he has a Flamewaker to synergize with that as well.
Yeah, it's worth noting that Flamewaker is excellent against Cat Trick as well, because despite the fact that the cat is stealthed, the Flamewaker's Arcane Missile effect can end up killing it if you're able to play multiple spells in the same turn, quite consistently, in fact.
Yeah, and this is the position that Bbungun has put che0nsu in. Now, if you play the Wolf, you have to use the Bow Charge and eliminate the Sorcerer's Apprentice because there's too much threat behind the Apprentice. She has so much synergy with everything in the deck, whether it's just burn spells or even drawing cards into more spells that draw more cards and play more spells. So there's so many things that you have to eliminate, but then you don't play the Infested Wolf, which is one of your best ways to stick onto the board.
A Blood Mage Thalnos for Bbungun that could enable his Arcane Blast. Probably not what he's necessarily looking for at this instant. He does have the Flamewaker plus coin would trigger the Cat Trick, and he could potentially fire off some spells, maybe attack into the Infested Wolf if it hits immediately, try and kill the cat. But that if he does get kind of fortunate in order to actually ensure that he takes down the cat because he doesn't have that many spells to play.
Yeah, it's one of the awkward things is the sequencing of stuff. How does the way the Flamewakers trigger with the cat? And it's usually you summon this cat after all the spells are played, so you don't actually even get to account for it.
Well, if you open with the coin, the cat appears immediately. So then you can start firing every spell.
Right. Good exception there. And Bbungun's accounting for all of that, seeing how the Flamewaker procs are going to be able to react to the cat being summoned. And, I mean, there is a possibility of it being killed off here, but it's not guaranteed.
Yeah, Gungun was really hoping to hit the Infested Wolf. Oh, that is an absolute disaster for the American player. He kills none of the 1 health minions on che0nsu's side of the board. That Flamewaker,
he was so happy.
He was not obeying the Fire Lord. Or perhaps just simply Bbungun in this instance is not the Fire Lord. Oh, that was huge.
Yeah, I have that music. Wah, 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 wah. This is a bunch of deflating trumpets. I mean, che0nsu now has an opportunity to remove the Flamewaker, which Bbungun was already aware of. And he also didn't even get like much value off the Arcane Blast. Normally, Arcane Blast with the Blood Mage Thalnos paired together is an amazing ability to swing the tempo. Also gave that up too. So che0nsu trying to pretty much pick apart what he can. I think playing just all the minions, develop the strongest board as possible, and pressure the mage, because ultimately the mage has been the aggressor, and now you're able to flip the switch. Ultimately leading to Ragnaros, which could help you seal the game.
And we can really see just how the players' perceptions of the game has switched. The body language and the expressions on these two players. che0nsu, you couldn't help but break a huge smile when that happens. And Bbungun, he's had his head in his hands this entire time since that happened.
Yeah, He's you can definitely tell how flustered he is, and you know at the same time he still has to keep it together. He's still very much competitive into this game for now. But, I mean, Hunter can turn up the heat real quickly. As you can see that che0nsu getting closer to that Ragnaros turn. For now, I think just removing the Water Elemental makes the most sense here.
Actually, I figured it out. That the che0nsu had Ragnaros, the Fire Lord, in his hand.
Okay.
And Flamewaker, serves the Fire Lord, so it wasn't going to go against the person holding Ragnaros.
That's like cheating. It's immunity in Survivor.
Yeah, but che0nsu che0nsu, he had the immunity, but Bbungun, he didn't know. He tried to vote for him anyway.
Should have just won the survival challenge.
Exactly. But che0nsu is the one who is looking to survive this particular game.
Okay.
A lot of pressure on the board. And Bbungun, he has a pretty slow hand here. He does have the ability to ping off the Kindly Grandmother, and Arcane Explosion will clear off the Big Bad Wolf and the Spider. So cuts into that clock a little bit.
Yep. Slow him down, has the ability to Firelance Portal, or I mean, it's going to be a little bit awkward because the second cat trick came to the hand. And the second cat trick is even more unlikely for Bbungun to play around if he, not that Bbungun had much of a choice because his hand's 3 spells, but at the same time, he's already played 1 cat trick versus the 2 freezing traps and the 2 snipes that are in che0nsu's deck. He hasn't played them yet.
So here, che0nsu does attack into the Blood Mage Thalnos. That gives him a little bit of extra insurance against something like an Arcane Missiles that could help clear out his board.
Right.
It does end up costing him 3 damage.
Okay.
And Firelance Portal gives him another cat, though.
Yeah, I think all he really cared about was just the raw stats of the 5 mana minion that came out, and 3-4 is definitely below average. Even though the average health would probably be closer to 4, the fact that Bbungun doesn't have very good board state. And now che0nsu can put on the pressure. He's got Quick Shot and Houndmaster. Really powerful stuff here. I don't know. He's going to actually just remove this minion with Quick Shot. Okay.
Looks like he's going to Quick Shot and trade, then Houndmaster to build the 4 health cat. Attack the face hero power. This does also clear off Bbungun's board, so the Ragnaros next turn is very likely to hit face, since Bbungun is going to have to use most of his mana just reacting to this board.
Yeah, I think at this point, pressuring your opponent is definitely the priority, but cleaning off his board, making sure there's no comeback is also certainly an option, and that's what he chose. And, ooh, Bbungun picks up the Mana Worm. Before, he just had to remove, and he wouldn't be able to swing back, but Mana Worm gives him an ounce of hope, although it's about to be crushed by Ragnaros.
Double Frostbolt's important here, too, because it does prevent che0nsu from actually just getting an attack with either of these minions. Tracking will find Barnes. I would potentially expect to see another tracking here. Barnes isn't super exciting. He can just play the Ragnaros. Either puts his opponent to 2 or clears the Mana Worm and demands an answer.
I would resent that statement. I think Barnes is always an exciting play. And I think it's not too bad either, given the fact that it gives you the ability to most likely fill out your mana curve next turn, too.
I think you're biased just because you dressed them.
Barnes is my spirit animal. Okay. Oh, Mana Worm takes the hit like a champion, keeping Bbungun's hopes alive.
They are very slim, though. He may need to rely on his own Ragnaros here.
Yeah.
He can Azure Drake and ping off the. He's going to go ahead and Firelance Portal. That gives him a body, which is important. Gives him a body on the board that could potentially soak up a Ragnaros hit.
Yeah, I was originally very surprised that he Firelance Portal the minion, but realized that he wants to play the Loot Hoarder to maximize his chances of survival. And a companion can increase those chances if he gets a Huffer off of it.
Yeah, Huffer would give him a 50% chance of just winning the game on the spot with the Ragnaros going face. I think we're seeing a little bit of the cost of che0nsu's decision to just clear off that minion rather than pushing down with the face, because he's put himself in a position where he's lacking damage now.
Yeah, and this Ragnaros shot can end the game, but also can miss. So 1 and 3 to end the game right now for che0nsu and go up 3-0.
It takes out the Booty Bay, which is a good target. He'd much rather kill that than kill the Loot Hoarder here.
Yeah, but if Bbungun's able to draw something pretty significant to remove, Mirror Image is really useful.
That is huge. And he could potentially Arcane Missiles to even possibly kill this Misha.
Oh, it's so close. Imagine if he was able to hit it one more time. And if this snipes the opponent's Ragnaros, which, by the way, that snipe is pretty useless from this position, this still has an opportunity.
Wow, this game looked all but over, but Bbungun has climbed back in.
Okay, to the face isn't necessarily that bad of an option. Savannah Highmane's not going to do it.
Well, this does potentially put another 1 in 3 to end the game. 50% or 1 in 3 again to kill the Ragnaros. Ragnaros is
it
down.
shoots the Ragnaros down. Can Bbungun find anything to bail him out here? Use both Frostbolts. Oh, and Fireball is just a little bit off.
He's actually just shy of lethal damage, too.
Yeah, man, if he was able to just get a little bit more damage onto his opponent, he had a Fireball for 7 damage right now. And if you think, was there an opportunity for Bbungun to squeeze out more damage without compromising anything?
I don't really know. It's hard to say. He's really just had to play defensively against this Ragnaros and just maximize his chances of survival every turn. Though Bbungun, I mean, he's not out of it yet.
Yeah, that image is really annoying.
Right, if he takes down the Misha, then there's no way on board, at least, for che0nsu to attack through and ensure that he gets lethal next turn. He can potentially just ping che0nsu and give himself the ability to draw. He doesn't have Torch, and he already used both of his Frostbolts. I'm just trying to think of what else he could potentially.
A second Fireball.
Yeah, he could leave himself in a position to draw another Fireball to win the game. Yeah, and he's going to go ahead and throw the Fireball at the face.
Or his own Ragnaros? No, he already played his own
Ragnaros. But, and che0nsu here.
No,
that does nothing.
So this Ragnaros once again has to hit this 50% chance to end the game, or Bbungun has
another draw.
Yeah, he has another draw to potentially come back.
This is yet another Ragnaros shot. Oh, and it finally hits the face. che0nsu, that was a crazy game. 3-game lead for che0nsu, but that one went down to the wire.
Yeah, that was scary for che0nsu, because if he lost from that position where Ragnaros had 4 or 5 turns to close the game and didn't, and I mean, let's say that the possibilities of Babbling Book coming out there and finding the last bit of damage with something silly like Dragon's Breath, then all of a sudden Bbungun would have been climbing back, making the comeback. But instead, now he's down 0-3, and Kibler making the comeback 4 games in a row is going to be tough.
Yes, it will. Look at just how stressed he looks, just sitting right there.
All right, well, he's going to take a minute, and you guys take a minute while we get ready for game number 4.
The Hearthstone World.
Do you think that Korea as a region in competitive Hearthstone is the strongest region?
가장 센 리전은 아니지만 두 번째는 되는 것 같아요.
Then what's first?
유럽.
Why do you think Europe is so good?
타이즈가 있으니까.
Just Thais?
예.
Do you think that the other regions are close, or do you think that Korea might have an edge over, say, China or the Americas?
이유가 특별히 높은 곳은 아니라고 생각하는데 이번에 다들 들고 온 덱들 보면은 다 생각의 수준들이 비슷하다고 생각해요. 다른 지역들도 거기에 비춰지지 않는다고 생각합니다.
Have you thought about playing on the big stage at BlizzCon in front of a lot of people?
그게 가장 걱정돼요. 제가 긴장할 것 같아가지고.
What are you going to buy with the money?
일단 빚 갚아야죠. 저희 부모님 집.
che0nsu in prime position to take the series 4-0, which would be the second time that would see it this tournament. And once again, we want to emphasize that 4-0s don't really happen in Conquest.
Very, very uncommon. We saw one earlier in the week when che0nsu took down Handsome Guy, but Bbungun looking like he is afraid of exactly that fate befalling him right here.
Yeah, and at this point, can he keep it together? He definitely seemed like he was on point for most of that game in the previous Mage versus the Hunter, but now the stage has been set. che0nsu is 1 game away from going to the round of 8 and once again putting Korea in the quarterfinals. Hoping to follow up Cranch's great performance just a couple of years ago. Bbungun turning to once again to see if he can finish out this game with Mage. and climb back into the series. che0nsu just has to win with Druid. However, Gilbert, we were actually talking that it felt like Druid seems to be slightly underperforming relative to its perception as the powerful deck it is.
Yeah, Druid is a deck that every player brought in their lineup at this event, but it probably has the lowest win rate of any deck.
With significant sample size. Because
size.
I want to remind you about 2 other classes that begin with P.
Listen. I'm gonna pretend that Priest games haven't happened yet. I'm still waiting to see some Priest wins in this tournament. But of decks that were brought by a significant number of players, Druid, I believe, has had the worst results. We've seen it lose in crucial spots over and over and over. And che0nsu, he needs to find a win here. He's got a lot of chances to do it.
Yep, there's been series where Druid has actually been the only deck that really loses, where both players lose 2 or 3 games with Druid, and it comes down to Druid mirrors. And, you know, because of the Conquest, you have to win with each deck. So if you end up having a weak link, which is surprising considering that Druid is considered by many to be the 2nd best deck in the game currently, behind Shaman, or the mid-range Shaman, excuse me.
Yeah, that's why everyone has Druid and Shaman in their lineups. And we see a hand from che0nsu that looks like a pretty good one. This doesn't look like a Druid hand that's just going to get run over. He does have Azure Drake into Emperor Thaurissan, which, thanks to the Thaurissan discount, can actually just get a Ragnaros on the following turn. So, excellent curve for che0nsu here. Excellent Barnes hit for Bbungun, getting that Loot Hoarder, going to give him a free card.
Yeah, and Bbungun, you know, outfitted his deck where he can hit a lot of good things with his mage. Ragnaros, of course, being the highest of highs, and the lowest of lows being just a mere babbling book, but Bbungun unlikely to hit that. No ability to swing on the Azure Drake with an Arcane Blast, and both these players are loading up in the resources. It's gonna have back and forth swings at one point where one player commandingly gets bored, the other swings back with a huge amount of spells, and then they're going to keep fighting until one person has the last say.
Speaking of swings, look at che0nsu's hand. He's going to get Emperor Thaurissan on Ragnaros, Wrath, Fandral, Raven Idol, Nourish. That Fandral, Raven Idol, Nourish, Wrath package right there, when he is going to have enough mana to cast all of them.
Yeah.
This is huge. che0nsu has enormous potential to have exactly that kind of swing you're talking about.
Yeah, he's going to be able to draw 6 cards next turn. 6 cards?
It's crazy.
And have a 3/5 with upside of more depending on what the Raven Idol is.
Also, there's Ragnaros waiting left over after this turn. So Fandral into Nourish. So he's going to draw 3, gain 2 mana crystals. He's going to start with a Raven Idol, it looks like.
Yeah. I've seen this episode of Druid before featuring Wreckful, and that didn't really end well on the other side. When you just see your opponent playing Fandral Staghelm and just going off. He just keeps getting, he gets everything, the best of both worlds.
Yeah, I'm actually a little surprised to see the Raven Idol before the Nourish, because when you've Nourished, you've gotten cards you're going to get from casting Nourish. So those can influence your decision as to what you want to pick with Raven Idol.
I like that. I like that. And Raven Idol is always free. It's 0, so it doesn't really influence your changes there either. Unless he was willing to spend his mana differently.
It's hard to do better than a Nourish with a Fandral play, but it's possible that was his thought.
Before you're going to hit also 10 crystals on the next turn, too. I completely agree there. Just trying to consider what could happen.
I was right.
Ooh.
All right.
That's potentially a 7/7 for 5.
Yeah, and most likely will be. I mean, there's no way for che0nsu to guarantee removal on it.
Can Hero power down the book and play Ragnaros here, because he does have so much mana thanks to acceleration. So he's either going to get a big hit or kill the Doomsayer. But if he misses the Doomsayer, that face damage isn't hugely important just yet. He has already used a Moonfire as well, so Malagos Burst, not as scary.
Oh my goodness, that's a huge difference. And Doomsayer, even though he's not the 2-mana play, it still kind of functions similarly.
He was right all along, turns out.
There it is.
And Bbungun, he could trade this in. He doesn't have a clean way to just remove this Ragnaros and keep the 7/7 in play, which is optimally what he'd love to do. He doesn't have a Cult Sorcerer plus Ping plus the spell-powered Fireball to go and remove it right away, but definitely a moment that he can take the opportunity to try and turn this game around.
I think Bbungun's also starting to consider the fact that he can actually consider killing his opponent in 1.5 turns. When I say the half turn, it's about setting up a minion before that and then doing 20+ damage, because he has the ungodly duo of Flamewaker and Sorcerer's Apprentice plus a ton of spells. now he has 2 Flame Wakers, and I think he's heavily considering that too. And if he sets up like this Mana Worm, and if che0nsu takes a relatively passive turn to set up a minion that can easily get breezed by, then Bbungun can actually just surge past it all and kill him if he's not careful.
And now che0nsu, he took that Moonglade portal from the idol, and now he just has a handful of expensive cards. And he's kind of choked on mana at this point. He doesn't really have the ability to play multiple things that are going to be highly impactful this turn. One of the options he had from Moonglade portal, interestingly enough, was Claw. And if, for instance, he'd taken Claw, he could have possibly played the Claw plus Hero Power kill this thing.
Yeah.
But he is able to just play out 2 large taunts here, so he is going to protect his face at least.
Yeah. Definitely like hear what you're saying, and I echo something that it could have been more useful in that situation. I do think Moonglade Portal is really good on average, though, when you have things like Ancient of War and big taunts in your hand, because you can use it to heal your minion. You don't have to use it on yourself. So I do think on average Moonglade Portal is a lot better, just in almost every
It
scenario.
also sort of just goes back to what I was saying about wanting to play the Raven Idol when you have the most information, because if you know that you're drawing expensive cards, you're more likely to want to take a cheap card off of Raven Idol because you're mana constrained.
Now, this Frost Nova is also interesting because it allows Bbungun, I was going to call him pre-Gun, to pre-board on preload the board prior to going off with the Flame Wakers and just set up an even more devastating opportunity to swing it. Because if you have Flame Wakers already on the board, it gets pretty crazy. Chooses to use the Firelance Portal because it is really expensive, and you have to consider about how you get some of these more expensive cards out prior to going for this huge swing of a turn. And he still needs to he needs to get more card draw in. He has to get his Arcane Blast, his Arcane Missiles, his Mirror Image, and that's when the double Flame Wakers go nuts.
Yeah, it's worth noting that Bbungun, while he is the aggro deck in this particular matchup, generally speaking, he is down to just 19 life, while che0nsu is at a healthy 30. With Malagos waiting in his hand. So che0nsu, if he can get just some pressure and find that other Moonfire, find those Living Roots, he can close out this game very soon.
A little awkward Raven Idol discovery here. Not really much significant. You're not on the back foot where you need Healing Touch or Mulch to really hit hard to remove big minions. Starfire does help you cycle through the deck, but it also uses your mana inefficiently because you only have 3 remaining afterwards.
Yeah, Starfire, though, it does... Oh, he's going to take the Mulch. I was going to say, Starfire does give him the ability... Whoa! Just Malagos out there.
Wait, really? Oh, he's just going to play Malagos. Well, Godspeed, sir. If that works out for you, then by all means.
And here...
sometimes you just put your cards on the table and let your opponent react to it.
I have this Dragon God. What do you got? What do you got?
Yeah, I see your Malagos, and I raise you 2 Flame Wakers, or maybe just 1 because he doesn't have enough mana to spend the rest here. I think it's pretty dependent also on how the Flame Waker the pings come out of here. Frostbolts, not bad.
All right, 1 in the Malagos.
You can also draw with the Loot Hoarder.
Yeah.
The Water Elemental's not going to be helpful.
No, that
in
is
this
not what he's
position.
looking for right now. He can cast Fireball or Arcane Explosion plus Frostbolt. He really has to be terrified of what that Malagos can
Okay.
If he Frostbolts it, he is potentially able to kill the Malagos here. If both hit Malagos,
oh,
Malagos
huge moment. Man, that was super important because if che0nsu was able to hold on to Malagos, he could fish for game-ending spells. You know, obviously, we know that che0nsu doesn't have the spells, but in his mind, he was as good as dead with 7 cards being held by his opponent.
Yeah, now the possibility of che0nsu bursting Bbungun out of the game is just gone. He has to establish a board and have that board survive against the onslaught of removal that Bbungun has built up in his hand.
Also, another important thing is that he doesn't have ways to remove both minions, and both are threatening in a multitude of ways. So he's searching for more options. Living Roots is one of them.
I mean, if he had waited, if che0nsu had waited here,
Yeah, he would have had the burst.
If he had instead chose to just fill up his hand, he could even just attack face with the Fen Creeper. I was trying to remember what that guy was. Yeah, something.
Yeah.
Whoever that was.
Yeah, the Twilight Guardian clone, right? But, you know, you're absolutely right, Brian. I think the fact that che0nsu was a little impatient has cost him the guarantee of this game. Now, by all means, this swing of a board is awesome. The fact that he's able to have Arcane Giant be played for 0 and Bbungun doesn't have the most convenient way to remove it does keep him very much competitive in this moment.
Yeah, PS kill all your stuff playing 8-8. Yeah. Still a good turn, even if you don't have the Malagos Burst available.
Yeah. Miniature Yogg-Saron, if you will, just in terms of what the swing is.
Yeah, Bbungun has this Fireball, and he needs just one hit from the Flame Waker here. And he's able to mirror image and can... Oh, there we go, it's gone.
It's definitely going to dictate a mulch from che0nsu unless he picks up a better option here. Can't afford to let that Flame Waker survive.
No, it is terrifying.
I mean, that's pretty much the engine of which the entire deck functions off of. However, if he uses mulch, then he also knows that his opponent, if he has Ragnaros, can corner him because he used up his primary removal tool. All right, che0nsu can also dig through his deck either with Wild Growth or with Azure Drake to see if he can improve his plays.
Has some options to dig. Does Azure Drake into a swipe?
Oh,
that
man.
Is a nice draw.
Oh, no. That's going to be the dagger in the heart. Just wait for Bbungun's reaction when this swipe goes down. Especially because he knows it came off the top. Oh, actually, he's just been desensitized to it all.
Yeah, I think
Wow.
he's just in shock.
You know what? I think it's also to the point where he realizes there's a high percentage chance his opponent has it. If you just look at how much che0nsu's drawn with the nourishes, the fact that Wrath's been able to cycle.
Yeah, there's just not that many cards in his deck.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. All right. Well, I was kind of hoping for a bigger reaction there.
Yeah, I think
or maybe it's starting to hit it now? I don't know.
I mean, this kind of situation when you are clearly under such pressure to win one game, and you see yourself in a situation like this. I mean, at some point you may even kind of give up. You know, Bbungun may be in a position where he's like, yeah, of course you have it. He's sort of mentally resolved to the fact that che0nsu is the one who's going to take this series. But he does have some fight left in him. He can clear this off if he really wants the Flame Strike. But it's not, not an efficient turn by any means. He's going to go ahead and just use the Frost Nova to allow himself to build up a little bit of a bigger board. It does run the risk of che0nsu finding some more spell damage boosted cards that he can use, like this Wrath.
Yeah, Wrath was pretty good. I mean, che0nsu's down to his last few cards, though, and I think he's used up most of his threats outside of the second Giant and I believe a Ragnaros.
He does have Yogg-Saron remaining as well.
Oh, that is a huge threat, but for everybody involved.
I mean, there is
both
also
players, casters, and audience included.
There is this Moonglade Portal as well. Yeah, he can take this down and potentially hero power it down, then Moonglade Portal himself back up if he wants. It does potentially walk into Flame Strike, though.
Yeah. And he knows his opponent has a Flame Strike, and I'm considering if whether or not Moonglade Portal is better versus getting the Flame Strike out of your opponent's hand by playing Mire Keeper instead.
Well, there are minions from Moonglade Portal that could survive the Flame Strike. Mire Keeper's guaranteed to get swept away. Could potentially follow up with Mire Keeper if you do Moonglade Portal this turn. He's going to go ahead and heal himself up.
Okay. Which, if you plan to hero power...
That's not a good one.
Is he going to Wild Growth cycle? Because I think he should just hero power the...
Yeah, he's going to hero power this down. And now he has a board that's swept up by this Flame Strike.
Okay. I don't think the one damage might really matter here, the fact that he missed the ability to go up in health. But Bbungun now be able to swing the board with a Flame Strike and start pushing for damage, but this one Water Elemental has to do it all right now until Bbungun gets the Ragnaros reinforcements.
That's currently at least shutting down Fel Rage as a removal option. Well, there's Yogg, if he really wants to.
This is one of a position where Yogg is generally really inconsistent because he can kill himself so easily.
Yeah, Light in the Darkness, finds a Moonkin, Divine Favor, that doesn't do anything.
Okay, he's also going to Fatigue Suit.
He is actually very, very low on cards. There is the possibility that che0nsu could just draw...
Oh, wait, what?
Well, charge, it can no longer attack the face the turn that you...
Oh! che0nsu just lost his entire hand! Well, Yogg can't die, but he can come back to the hand?
He Astral Communion his entire hand away.
What just happened?
But now he has a rebuy.
This is where you type in all caps.
Oh my God.
Worth.
Live by the Yogg, die by the Yogg. che0nsu's last card, it's Swipe. he is just in a position, he has no threats left other than this Yogg-Saron.
That's still a big threat for everybody involved. Let's go one more time.
There's a lot of spells that have been cast here.
No.
There's Fatigue draw number 1.
He has a high chance he just
There's
kills
Fatigue
himself.
draw number 2 and 3.
Number 4? Is he just going to die by himself right now?
che0nsu is getting absolutely trolled by Yogg-Saron right now. Discards his entire hand, then just draws.
No!
Oh, he just keeps drawing cards.
One more draw. He's just dead.
He's dead.
He's just dead. Bbungun can pass. And
That
the game is
was
over.
Outrageous. Excess mana, finishes himself off. He gets his giant sandworm though from lock and load.
Worth.
That was quite the ending. Bbungun's on the board.
If there is a way to pick up someone's spirits, it is definitely when your opponent's Yogg has gone horribly wrong.
Wow, that's the sort of thing that you just absolutely dread happening to you anytime you play Yogg, let alone when you play Yogg from a reasonable position when you just need to win one game to advance to BlizzCon.
Yeah, and I think at one point, che0nsu was even kind of laughing because he just realized how ridiculous the entire sequence was. What just happened? Well, all we know is that Bbungun is still alive, and the score is 1-3. che0nsu still looking to close out the series in game number 5. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
How did you get into Hearthstone initially?
So in 2015, I had the surgery. It didn't go well, and I was forced to stay in a hospital for like 8 months. During that time, I couldn't do anything, so I watched a lot of game stream. I think I was like good at it. In 2016, I made like a New Year resolution. I want to make a run for BlizzCon, so yeah, I'm here.
What do you study?
I'm currently a PhD student studying in medical imaging.
And where do you live now? Boston?
Boston, right.
So what sort of things do you like to do outside of Hearthstone?
I like traveling, so I traveled to like 30 states in the United States, including Alaska.
What draws you to Alaska the most?
It's just the nature. You can't see the view from city. It's pretty special.
Besides Alaska, what do you think your favorite place that you traveled to was?
San Francisco.
Oh, San Francisco, okay.
Yeah.
So is this gonna make your at least top 5 list?
Maybe.
Maybe? If you win, it'll make your top 5.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Bbungun having one last breath before we go into game number 5. And Gibbler, what a wild ride it's been so far.
Yeah, that was, nearly his hopes end in that match, but Yogg-Saron hopes end turned things around for Bbungun there, and che0nsu, he's looking, he's got to shake that one off, kind of laugh it off. We saw him having a pretty jovial attitude about that. So hopefully that doesn't shake him, and he's able to pick up the win with this deck that as we have said, has really struggled throughout this event.
Yeah, it turns out Yogg fights for freedom. Believes in the American hope. Bbungun, representing Boston, Massachusetts, as well as the TESPA organization, comes in here, not only have played with his local chapter, but also sponsored by them, and hopes to keep his dream alive. As you heard it, he was in the hospital, and he was just thinking, I want to try to be that person one day on stage. And here he is. Can he continue the dream? This is the winner's match. If che0nsu can take game 5, he is going to the round of 8.
Ooh, che0nsu finding a hand that has a lot of ramp and a lot of nothing. This is, one of the problems with the Malagos Druid deck. One of the reasons it struggles is that it can just pick up cards like Moonfire when it needs cards that do, well, anything.
Yeah, you're not trying to cycle your interface to draw more cards, and Nourish doesn't ramp into anything. Although that does ramp.
It's actually pretty good. He could potentially innervate out of Mire Keeper. He could also use Moonfire along with his hero power to kill the Secret Keeper. And I have to wonder which direction che0nsu will choose to take, because that Secret Keeper can get really threatening out of Secret Hunter, especially given that Bbungun has the coin and could threaten to coin out a Cloaked Huntress and play a significant number of secrets. But it will be a Mire Keeper.
Yeah, it's a Mire Keeper, but Bbungun does have the answer with the Eaglehorn Bow. Now, che0nsu still doesn't have a guaranteed easy play on 4. He has to innervate out something bigger, or he uses his Moonfire removal.
Oh, there's just drawing more air. Moonfire number 2. It will be innervate into Nourish.
And he's going to draw cards because his hand is terrible.
He just wants to ramp into be able to cast these Moonfires, I think. Yeah, so Nourish number 2, which he could follow up with Emperor. I wouldn't be terribly surprised to see him double Moonfire this.
Yeah, it is pretty threatening considering that when your opponent has Secret Keeper and the Eaglehorn Bow, it almost just leads itself inevitably to Act 3 to secrets and building up the board.
And in particular, che0nsu has ways to use his mana over the next several turns. He's almost certainly going to Nourish for cards next turn, and then play Emperor the following turn. So he has no window to really use any mana on removal. So double Moonfire here to take out the Secret Keeper, really adds up, and that is what che0nsu decides to do.
And it's okay. Like Bbungun wasn't primarily planning on playing a Secret last turn anyways. So the fact that he sees both of those Moonfires removed, he gets the Huffer.
Now Huffer is free to go to the face. che0nsu, he finds Wild Growth, not really what he's looking for right now.
Looking for more cards. He's spending his entire turn, gaining mana crystals, drawing cards. But this is what Hunter usually excels on. It's able to be a predator on Druid because it takes so long for it to get going, to set up correctly. And now Bbungun knows that it's about time for his opponent to play something. So he sets up the snipe so that way he can get the activation on that bow and be able to start pushing his opponent down to killing him because he has that kill command ready to go.
Yeah, this is already a major clock from Bbungun here. He is pressing 5 damage per turn just with what's on board. He also has that bow, which is going to get another charge here.
It's greedy.
And this Emperor will get sniped. That will enable even just the Kindly Grandmother to trade into it. And it does reduce a significant number of cards in che0nsu's hand.
Tiger. Oh, man.
This is a lot of pressure from Gungun here. Now he has gone to 12 damage in the board, plus the bow, plus the hero power. che0nsu has essentially no time left.
Yeah, and I completely sympathize with che0nsu at this point. He didn't want to activate the potential cat trick, so he just went for Emperor, but it ends up playing really well into Bbungun's situation. And now che0nsu has to hope that he can swing with this Fandral. We're going to start things off with Raven Idol, and he can pick up a couple things to help him here. Oh, he's just a little bit off from Starfall.
1 mana away from a Starfall that would be huge.
Yeah.
He does have Swipe plus Wrath, so he can kill the 2 minions that would die to Starfall anyway. The problem really is that Tiger, which he can't interact with until it gets to hit him in the face. And he's going to go ahead and Wrath, pick something else up, but that Tiger alone, plus the bow, plus the kill command, that's just going to be lethal next turn.
Yeah, I mean, he's just staring at 13 damage just on board. So
even if he does swipe off the big bad wolf, there's 10. Your opponent does not need much else to finish you off.
And the problem with swiping is you don't actually get to turn the tides by trying to play the Arcane Giant and winning the game. Because you have to think about survival, but also winning.
Yep.
And I think che0nsu's saying, you know what, I have to play this Giant, and even though my opponent might have the damage, if he doesn't, I might be able to pick up Feral Rage and swing it. But we know that Bbungun had his sights for his opponent's face the entire time. Second kill command will wrap it up. And Bbungun sending it to Game 6, very much alive in this series now.
Yeah, it was looking really, really bad for the American League. Down 3 games to 0, and frankly trailing in the 4th game. But he's managed to turn both those around, and we got ourselves a series.
That's right, and only 2 remain, and yet the Druid spiral continues. Shout out to Gosu Gamers. They actually tossed us a couple of statistics saying that Druid's win rate prior to this series was 37%.
It has been really low. Interestingly,
and even lower now.
Yeah, the token version has been performing well, but the Malagos version has not been doing well, and it is not doing better after this.
Can Bbungun continue the run back? We'll find out in Game 6 right after this.
The Hearthstone World Championship is sponsored.
Welcome back, everybody. Game 6 about to begin. The mood in the room has continued to fluctuate here. Who's the one really in the driver's seat? We'll find out after Bbungun tries to come back once more. Most likely gonna have to be relying on whether or not these players can win a Druid game.
Yeah, we've seen che0nsu lose several straight with his Druid deck now, and he's facing the possibility of a Druid mirror match or discard Zoo. And the discard Zoo is one of the tougher matchups, one of the legitimately difficult matchups for the Druid deck quite often. And the mirror match, well, that's what it is. It's a mirror match. So difficult for either player to get an edge outside of their decision making.
Certainly. And, well, of course, the cards that they're given in their opening hands, they're ultimately going to try to pilot and navigate across those lines. Now, there is still an advantageous matchup available for Bbungun, and it is Zoo Warlock versus Druid. Not too many advantageous matchups left for this deck in the metagame, but Druid is one of them. It happens to have that pocket where you're able to use it to corner your opponent. And Druid is just going to be looking for that early ramp. And Innervate does end up making the hand better, but it's still awkward for che0nsu. And if Bbungun gets a really fast start, it could be lights out.
Yeah, che0nsu, he finds a Wild Growth, so this does give him the ability if he wants to coin out Wild Growth and then Innervate out Drake the following turn. Drake's not really necessarily a great body early on against Zoo because they have so many attack boosts that can relatively easily kill a medium-sized minion.
Yes.
But che0nsu will go ahead and coin out that Wild Growth regardless.
Yeah. And Bbungun not exactly the happiest to see coin Wild Growth, but at the same time, coin Wild Growth is pretty indicative of what your opponent wants to do. It's most likely setting up for either a 3-mana play or a 5-mana play based off Innervate. There's not many good 3-mana plays at all. There's Feral Rage and pretty much it. Maybe if your opponent has Raven Idol to pair things with it, but then they would have used Raven Idol. So I think this is very telling to Bbungun that che0nsu has an awkward hand.
Ooh, and the pickup of Ancient of War for che0nsu, I think may have
slow
rethink exactly this play, but he is just going to go ahead and coin, or rather Innervate out the Azure Drake. Finds another Innervate though. That is crucial because now once this Azure Drake is kind of inevitably dealt with, because it's so many ways that Zoo can clear off this minion from this board state. He does have the ability to ramp into an Ancient of War pretty soon.
Bbungun coming up on the very critical turn on his opponent having the ability to swipe. That might change the course of action. You can cleanly remove the Azure Drake through just an Abusive Sergeant, leaving him the ability to play 1-mana minions or maybe the Knife Juggler. Also can just utilize Soulfire since he does have relatively weak minions and could have an opportunity to gain him some tempo.
And just Knife Juggler into Soulfire here does seem like it's potentially pretty attractive. He is going to go ahead and use the Abusive, holding on to the rest of his hand.
Yeah. And while many people might perceive Bbungun could have set up an opportunity to, get a little bit lucky by keeping onto the Abusive Sergeant and having the Soulfire, I think Bbungun feels like keeping his options open because the rest of his hand's so cheap. So in the event where he picks up a 1-mana play, which is very likely given this deck, he can play everything and then not have Soulfire discarded.
And Feral Rage does take out the Juggler. Ooh, Councilman is a very big draw for Bbungun here, giving him a very resilient minion. Even if che0nsu does find a swipe, he's not going to be able to remove that. And there's the swipe. Yeah. So, a pretty huge threat for Bbungun here. che0nsu kind of is committed, I think, to just playing this Ancient of War.
Yeah, by playing Ancient of War too, what ends up happening is that his Giant only becomes 7 mana, so he's stuck swiping next turn. So he has to think, if I play Ancient of War, what's the situation going to look like next turn so that way I can best posture my swipe? Because he's in his position where he's just stuck playing one thing at a time, and Zoo keeps extending wider and wider onto the board. And the moment his opponent picks up Crazed Alchemist or even Direwolf Alpha to really boost the power of the board, I mean, che0nsu can still be in trouble even though he's playing these really big taunt minions.
Yeah, Bbungun did pick up a 1-cost minion here, so he could play out his entire hand, including the Soulfire, to deal some damage to that Ancient, and follow up with a life tap here. So he can boost up the Councilman to 4/5 attack, thanks to the 2 minions from his hand and the Possessed Villager, if he does attack with it, getting the Death Rattle minion. So he'll only have to sacrifice that plus the Possessed Villager and just go through with the Soulfire.
There's also the option to just not attack it.
It's true. That's a possibility.
Yeah.
He's gonna give himself as much information as possible. This is pretty important.
Wow, Direwolf Alpha.
Direwolf Alpha does give him a ability to potentially help boost the rest of his team. That was actually the buff from the Young Priestess, trying to remember the name of that card.
Yes.
Does keep that Abusive Sergeant out of swipe range. It won't just get swept up in the extra damage.
Initially,
the
yes.
Wrath draw will potentially allow that to happen.
Yeah. And I think if Bbungun sees the Wrath on the 1-1, or the 1-2, excuse me, he knows what's happening. The board was relatively low value, and when you see your opponent spending their entire turn swiping, it gives you a lot of hope, because then you could life tap into a lot better plays. You know, this is the turn if Bbungun draws the Doom Guard, it'll be extremely impactful.
Yeah. And this is an interesting decision from che0nsu here. Does he care more about the 1 health on the Shield Bearer or the 1 attack on that Voidwalker?
Oh, a little bit off.
He does find Doomguard, but it is slightly behind. But there's 2 Direwolf Alphas, so 3 damage from the Voidwalker.
Not bad pickups, though.
It's
I
actually
mean,
a pretty big draw for che0nsu here. He can Living Roots, attack, and Moonfire. And then I believe he reduces the cost by 2, so it'll be 3 mana. Yeah, he can actually play everything here.
Yeah. It was either this or Wrath, number 2, and now that he's able to play the Arcane Giant and swing, this could be his chance to secure the board, although Bbungun still has that life tap, and he has a lot of health to play with.
Yeah, there is Ragnaros waiting to come down next turn. Zoo is excellent at dealing with medium-sized minions. It's not nearly as good at dealing with big minions. Ooh,
Oh.
Power Overwhelming, not what Gungun was hoping to draw here.
Yeah, eternally conundrum of Doomguard versus the Power Overwhelming. And this is actually a direct punish of Bbungun's tech choice. I love that Bbungun's going aggressive. It's a complete change of this philosophy in the previous games. But Bbungun specifically put in 1 Power Overwhelming and took out another card of his deck, primarily so that he can get these great trades. But that's the big reason why discard Warlocks in general don't play Power Overwhelming anymore,
Right.
so they don't have dead cards like that because they discard so often.
Yeah, and Voidwalker, that's going to be a Voidwalker soaking up a lot of damage with that Giant waiting. Now, Ragnaros has a lot of targets.
The hard counter to Ragnaros.
Ooh, a Wrath is a big draw for che0nsu, though.
Okay.
It does let him help clean things up here.
You cycle for sure with this Wrath, I think, right?
I think quite likely that's what you're going to want to do. I don't think that you care that much about the... Well, maybe you do care about the 8 damage. You could just kill the 1/3 and attack face. Put your opponent down to 10. Then if the Ragnaros hits the face, they can't life tap. It's an option.
Okay. I guess what you're also scared of is if you leave up too much, can your opponent kill you?
Yeah, that's what you got to be thinking about from che0nsu's position here, especially given the fact that you have the Ragnaros, you have the Yogg-Saron in your hand as a sort of safety valve. You want to ensure that you're not going to die. Yeah, I think he may just be wrathing down this Flame Imp to ensure there's just the 1/1 or 8 to the face. This means that either he gets a Giant surviving, or his opponent takes the 8. And it does take out the 1/1.
That takes me back. The days of Haunted Creeper countering Ragnaros.
Oh, Soulfire is the draw. That can kill the Giant.
That can kill the Giant, and it's not like he can tap into a kill.
Right, if he Soulfired face tapped, the best he could do is Doomguard, which would only be 9 total damage with che0nsu at 11.
So many possibilities.
Okay, so right time to go through the percentages here. What's the likelihood that he gets to Doomguard with 18 or so cards remaining in his deck? Very low. But definitely considering about, can you win if you Soulfire the face or by Soulfiring the minion?
And important to note that the discard Warlock deck doesn't have cards like Forbidden Ritual that just allow it to fill up the board against this Ragnaros. He's essentially playing 1 minion per card here.
Okay.
Ooh, that swipe.
Swipe is pretty good to start removing the minions, guaranteed. Because
Well,
before, you only had Yogg-Saron.
Yeah, so there's no particular incentive to like swipe face necessarily, take down the Juggler here, because it can't represent lethal damage or preventing him from life tapping, because you're only putting him to 12. But at the same
really
time,
tense spot here.
yeah.
Oh, what? No!
Whoa, again?
No!
This Is che0nsu putting his faiths in Yogg-Saron after what happened in the last game? This is
I'm
such
pretty sure Yogg-Saron
this is
declared his
such a-
allegiance.
This is such a strong
Once this
spot
series.
for che0nsu. Yeah, I was going to say.
Trolling.
Okay.
Yeah,
Let
he
me
is
breathe
messing
here.
with us right now.
Okay. I hope he was just trolling us here because that Yogg would have been crazy. He's got Ragnaros in play.
Yeah. He's got Ragnaros, and there's no clear way for Bbungun to deal with it. Defender of Argus not going to be useful here, I guess. Maybe that's why he cut the second one. Can taunt this. Inkling of hope here for Bbungun, but it's still going to be tens. Once again, he's on a turn where Ragnaros can straight up end the game.
And I think, I mean, for che0nsu here, Bbungun is so low on life that this Ragnaros is either removing key minions from the board or just killing your opponent. And you're able to, with this Mire Keeper, generate threats. Now, no matter what your opponent draws, there it is.
Oh! And the series has ended. che0nsu, Ragnaros is going to be able to finish it. And that's going to wrap up the series. che0nsu is going to the quarterfinals.
Yeah, that was just such an incredibly tense few games for the Korean player after he looked to be going for the 4-0 sweep. Yogg doesn't go his way, but Ragnaros finally does, and he's moving on to the main stage of BlizzCon.
Yep, that's right. Bbungun will play the winner of Naaman vs. Hamster, so he's still in it. But for now, the moment belongs to our Korean player. che0nsu is waiting with Admirable for a few words on his victory.
I'm joined here by the winner, che0nsu, who's able to be victorious in the series. First off, che0nsu, congratulations. That was a wonderfully fought set. The question I have on my mind is that Yogg-Saron towards the end. We saw you mousing over it, ready to play it. Was that seriously going through your head, or was that a little bit of a joke there?
예, 일단 오늘 경기 우승 축하드리고요. 그때 요구사론의 끝 경기에 약간 좀 마우스로 물리셨던 것 같은데.
아, 농담이었어요. 절대 안 플레이했을 거예요.
I just did for the heck of it. I was never going to play it.
I would hope not. And so now with you being guaranteed in the top 8, you have some time to prepare for it. What are you going to do with the next few days to make sure that you're ready for the task?
이제 메인 토너먼트 준비하시기 위해서 며칠 남으셨는데 어떻게 준비하실 건가요?
8강 왔는데 여기서 만족하고 더 연습 안 하고 남들 하는 거 구경이나 하려고요.
I made it to top 8. I'm glad. I'm satisfied. I won't do any practice. I'll just watch people play.
Congratulations. I think it's a great use of your time, and good luck in the top 8. Our second top 8 competitor has been made here, but we have another match coming up. Every winner today